So there is completely another things that I would like also to share about and discuss, and that would be um, well, I want to present this topic in a format of the question, and the question will sound like, um, what do we value the most? And obviously, this is very important question, and the reason it's important is because have to focus, we have to concentrate, we have to pick something out of a multiplicity of things. We have to make choices for something specific, and we have to dismiss the alternative as we make the choice. Uh, because everything is too much for us, everything is too much even for our perception, everything is too much even for our eyesight. Everything is too much for us to think about and to reflect on, and everything is too much for us to what uh to control it physically. Also, so we are limited on each side, and as we try to push forward through that limitations, we still recognize our nature that is selective. And in recognition of it, we have to ask the meaningful questions that would be would um, what would signify a correct choice, a better alternative over other alternatives, and uh, on the opposite, what would signify a poor choice, and a poor um, what um, attributes of the object to be chosen by us. So, uh, what should we base on when we make our choices? When we select, what should be put on a higher position of hierarchy of values? And this is a controversial question, and uh, it's not that um, ideological as it seems first, or I would say hmm, maximalistic and philosophical. Because if you say if you put an abstract values to the highest degree, you can say, well, what is something I like? Something I need the most should be chosen first, right? So the value is kind of directly related to my needs, to me. The value is the value in relation to me and what I need. And if it is so, then um, what I need the most, me specifically, like, and a person, then that would be the most valuable thing for me, right? And uh, when you um, when you say this, and when you start from the like position of the need, uh, then it gets harder to put an abstract things at the highest degree of value, because, well, first of all, it's great to think of abstract things about the maxims and ethics and philosophy, but if I don't eat, I die, and this is a plain truth. And if I don't drink, then it gets harder to think about abstract things and about much I love other people and even my friends and relatives. So, what is actually on the higher value? And I want to also provide first this information that physiological needs are like basic, and then how do we order this hierarchy of value? Because then we can ask, well, is it really that the food is um, of the highest value for us, like, and the water, like, is it the highest, the most valuable things for us? And then I want to challenge you with the idea that um it's we need food, and we need water to survive, right? We need this physiological needs to be satisfied to survive. And um, but maybe it's not maybe can we survive is not the only question that we face with in life. Maybe it's not our central question, because maybe when we do survive, uh, our questions and our search continues, and um, we are not yet completely satisfied with life, and we actually can be so dissatisfied as to prefer the death. And when we consider the not only our physical capacity for surviving, but our will for living, when we consider our free will, when we consider um, our conscious nature, then we have to pose a new question besides the foundational and physiological questions, such as can we survive? And that would be a question: do we will to live? Um, and do I will to live can be even the more important question than can I survive? Because um, if we value our consciousness over our um, physical body, if we identify ourselves with our consciousness, if we say that when I lose my consciousness, I lose myself. When I'm not sober, it's not me. If I did it, I never not. But I was not me at that moment. Yeah, but I was not sober. If I would be myself, if I would be um um in a clear state of mind, I wouldn't do that. It's not me. Because the me we associate ourselves with is the conscious us. Though we kind of, as a body, as an entity, we are much more um, than our conscious us. But I think what is conscious is what names itself in us. So, for this reason, um, it might be as well that consciousness is what kind of reflects on the things of value and puts the priority. And why would it not choose itself over physical objects? Yes, when you ask yourself, is it my conscious capacity or my hand that I should sacrifice, the choices becomes obvious, because if you lose the conscious you lose yourself, because it is the consciousness in you that um, sees and determines all the value. and has a reasoning capacity. And when we understand it, we understand the value of the question, do I will to live, over the question of can I survive? This becomes a central question for us. And when the question of will becomes central for us, then we um, understand that will lives on as it survives and has its what it has its desires. It's attracted towards something, and it moves towards something, right? um and it doesn't we're not merely satisfied and stopped at the point of meeting our physiological needs. And because of that, and because of our will is so strong in us that we could prefer the death, prefer to end our lives, um, uh, because as we associate ourselves with our consciousness, we might reevaluate the importance of um, needs that are not physiological, or that are partially that partially are, but um, all for the other kind. And um, uh, what now when we realize that the conscious is what puts and reflects on value and attributes the value to things, we understand that, well, would what we as a conscious mind consider the most important. And this would be our conscious capacity itself, right? Our conscious capacity, because that's uh, what defines itself in us, and um, kind of what and how we are defined for ourselves too. And so um, now it becomes obvious that, well, what kind of needs would then be, or what kind of needs would the conscious mind have? What kind of needs does consciousness has? And perhaps the need to be understood and known, perhaps the need to act freely, not being suppressed, to live, um, and um, perhaps when that would be refused, us being our conscious would be and putting and assigning the value to thing, we could see the death as even the uh, preferable to life, and a safe escape from our suffering, from the prison that we would consider ourselves in. And that puts the value on the actually abstract things, because the abstract things is the work of consciousness. The abstract ideas, the abstract concepts is the work of consciousness. And And it means that maybe when we would evaluate it to the point of choosing the preferring and to satisfy our physiological needs, and devaluing the abstract ideas, our we would um, be satisfied, but satisfied in the unconscious bliss, losing our very self, that is our consciousness, and suffering uh, due exactly to that. Um, and I think that this consciousness is the deepest form of um, our life. It's like the most living thing in us. It's what we also have called soul, or what we meant when we are saying, when we named like heart to be this symbol of the most deepest and truest experiences of your being. And uh, that would be really reductive to um, just claim it to be only a rational um, what reasoning. No, the feelings play even the more the deeper role here, because it's what is um, real to us as we actually experience it. And so but it's the whole, it is the integration of all of that which makes up our experiences, right? And so because of the nature of who we are and of uh, the metacognition in us, I would say that it is possible that we as a conscious mind will value, um, itself so much as to value others as ourselves, others who can comprehend us, relate to us, who can know us, the only ones who can know us. There are kinds of people who would um, know you on your deepest level, who would understand your being um, without the necessity for you to constantly um, um, articulate it or communicate it constantly, like people who would um, understand you and um, feel you, because your problems would become their problem and their problems would become yours. And who would feel the changes in your mood, who would feel your pain when you're sick and your happiness when you're happy, and who would share it with you. And this is the this is uh, actual bonding of the minds of consciousness, where you are literally mirroring their neurons, and you actually do feel what they feel, the pain when they feel the pain, and you mirror it, you mirror their neurons, and you can um, what try yourself in their shoes, actually. So, and it means your consciousness has been integrated and enhanced to identify itself with the other being also. This is the sort of unique and surprising connection that we're able to have with other beings. And can have a bonding with animals, and studies also show that we can even you know extract the same like oxytocin, right? Just as we would when we are connecting with having positive emotions with other people, right? So we can connect and bond with animals too, but we can connect and bond with another conscious minds who can relate to us on a much deeper level, way more. And so we value that much more because we value ourselves, because consciousness is what distributes the value itself. You are your conscious mind. You don't just realize that you don't um, associate yourself with your body merely. You when Because when you lose your consciousness, you say, I have not been myself. And and this of course includes not only rational capacity but a qualia, an inner experience as such. And for this reason, we would value so deeply people who could see it in us and feel and experience it in us. Because what is knowledge? What is knowledge? Even if we say it's a justified belief. Uh, let's say it's a comprehended information, right? Comprehended information. But on what level is it comprehended? Is it comprehended just rationally, or is it experienced on all levels of um, experience, on all levels of comprehending, consciously and unconsciously? And this is completely different because, um, um, it's also the integrated system who we are, and not merely our uh, prefrontal lobes. And um, right, so we can actually our consciousness can be related and comprehended. It can be uh, what experienced. This is really shocking that our consciousness can be experienced. When we bond with people, they can mirror it. They can mirror our neurons. They actually do experience what we experience. And what it means that what actually happens when others experience our consciousness? Does it, in a sort of way, strange way, when it mirrors, does it transit? Does it is it actually, like, can we say that it's expanded? Um, because if it is, then it's would imply something else. That do we live more when our consciousness is expand uh, as we share it with other people. Because when we share it, we don't share it just theoretically. We have to recognize it neurologically. They mirror our neurons. They actually feel pain when we feel pain. They actually feel happiness when we feel happiness. They experience inner qualia the way we do. They mirror our being. Okay, and so let's talk about cloning. There was a the question in about the teleportation. If we would teleport, so the original perhaps would need to kind of erase, and the copy of it would have to reappear on the uh, other side. But if the copy is completely the same, is it not the original, right, in some of the ways? And so taking also this in mind, ask um we can ask what happens again, like we can ask again what happens when we share experientially our being, our consciousness with other person, and he actually now feels what we do inside. And um, and does our feeling can our feeling and our conscious be multiplied when it's shared? Okay, and so what we could also do, we could look at the researches that uh, um, let's say study the pain, right? Study the ways uh, uh, pain is shared, like what happens psychologically, what happens when we share our pain with someone else, right? um, when we share the experience of our pain, or when, let's say, when someone else is in our presence when we are in pain, what happens, what happens in that moment? Because if um, because if uh, in the moment when other person is in the room with us and he sees us in pain, and he also influenced by that because he feels our pain on, like, not fully, because his senses are not triggered by the trigger directly, but they are triggered by our reaction, and his mind projects the pain, how would it be actually. And this is not a big difference because our mind kind of does these projections anyway. It interprets the data and it sends the signals that now feel the pain. And so would our behavior change when we experience, like, not our behavior, our experiences, would our experiences change when we experience pain in a room with someone who can share it, who can share our experience? Or would it be like absolutely the same? And it's hard probably to measure, but there definitely are studies on the pain and on shared pain, and that's absolutely interesting to know um, uh, how the process of shared consciousness happens and what does it mean. Because it could mean that you live more when you share your experience and you enhance your consciousness. It could mean that you can multiply your and you can multiply your um, um, kind of senses. Okay, but how would it work? It's also a good question. Uh, Maybe you could distribute, let's say, distribution, right? This is the part of the uh, what cooperation of the living creatures. It's the shared being. You share resources, and others share with you, and now you have more. It's easier to get wealthy when you together share your resources. Now you have more resources. Does it happens the same when you share your quality, when you share your consciousness, when you share your inner experiences um, with others. Because if it does happen, if you start to identify yourself, your own being, with someone else's experiences too, enhancing your perception and your consciousness, um, that it's then it would mean that if the other being uh, would be hurt, would suffer, you would suffer too and get hurt too. So it would mean that it influences and affects you so much. Um, and for because you already kind of um, experiencing more together. You not only experience what you experience, you also experience what the other person experiences. It's kind of a shared mind. And this is a very interesting concept, very interesting. Because then it's already a knowledge that people um, die in isolation. Their mind gets literally broken. They go crazy when they are isolated. And the question is why? Why the person who is provided with food and water, with everything to live for, would die? Why the kid who is nourished but not touched and not cared for would die without a physical uh, uh, touch, and his development would be hindered. Um, so when we consider this question, we realize the importance of our consciousness. And consciousness not as our rational us, but consciousness as our experience of reality. Maybe it's even more only than consciousness. Should I say our qualia, our inner us, just our experiences. And uh, when we ask this question, so we realize that this actually and these needs of consciousness is um, our fundamental needs. They are the most basic, the most necessary needs, and not they are fundamental needs, and not secondary needs. Uh, because there's even a study where monkeys would choose the food, would um, prefer the uh, what uh, social interaction with another monkey over the food, right? And it does tell us that um, what shared experiences are not our secondary need. It's our primary need. This is the most valuable. Who we are, and we are what we experience. It's this integrated system that comprehends reality, and our awareness assigns the value too. But there's also an unconscious um, it would be foolish not to know, because this is the reality. There is the unconscious uh, uh, what process of assigning the value to, because uh, even our perception chooses and selects what to focus on, what to be attracted by. So, uh, and you know, we could say that these things are of value, the things we um, orient ourselves towards, or the things we focus on, the things we look at. Um, but we not reflect on value without our conscious experience, without the awareness. And that gives us completely new look into the uh, social interactions, onto our primary needs, and onto our uh, value hierarchy values, what should be at the top. And we realize that our consciousness is somewhere at the top, our experience of the being, and therefore others become at the top too, because you have to realize it's not merely um, a shared knowledge that you transmit. It's a shared literal experience. Your consciousness can be experienced by someone else. And it can be mirrored. It can kind of, multiply into someone else. And uh, you don't know for sure what it means for you. Does it mean that kind of you're being expanded, enhanced? There is the discussion of the um, a new discussion of the meaning of the spirit, for the word the spirit, right? What does the word spirit mean? And I think Jordan Peterson described it in a new way, distinguished from kind of uh, classic religious view. And it was the way that uh, what spirit is the transmitted experience. It's He said that the spirit of the nations is the unconscious, is a transmitted unconscious experience. And um, what it suggests that it also could be happening on an individual level. We could in sort of way transmit our being to someone. Does it mean now that someone else lives in us? And now you say, well, no, but physically, let's say, as if by no, but then also physically, as if having the same uh, experiences that are created and um, through the impact of that uh, of the experiences of someone else, right? So someone else's experiences back then now create in us this experience of life, now impact our being, our consciousness, now in kind of make us to live differently. And it's a big thing, and it would mean that even dying, a person could live as if in others' lives, like as if in others' um, experiences. And I don't want to make it, kind of what I don't want it to be a sort of mysticism. No, I'm not saying it's in this way, in mystic way, even in a religion or a philosophical way. I'm saying it in a purely uh, neurological and psychological sense that someone else's lived through experiences can influence our experiences, and that would it mean that their living has been enhanced by definition, because what do they identify themselves with, or people in general, with their body or with their lived through, like with their comprehension of the world and lived through experiences? And that is the good question. And that's why, I've been reading the my favorite readings have been the letters of Seneca to Lucilius, moral letters, and this has been the most, for me, favorite works I've been reading, and because it felt really personal, like as if I would be reading and my present questions would be answered by the person who lived 2,000 years ago, if not more. And so I also had this sense of as if I would, know the person, and the person would be close to me, like that. Oh, I understand him, and sometimes it could be also that, like, you ask yourself the question, and as if this person, kind of you hear kind of the voice, as it, like, and the question is it your consciousness, or is it uh what a voice of someone else's lived through experience that now you have experienced? And so this is a good these are good questions, and I think this is also what religious people experience when they say um uh, they know Jesus, right? How can you know Jesus if you never have met him? And but they will say, well, Jesus lives inside me, and what they would mean, they would mean probably by the Spirit, right? And they would, I think, it's also kind of mean that this uh, consciousness of someone else's perception now lives in you, also became a part of your life experiences, and which you can use and do use to orient yourself in life. um, because definitely it's not just merely reductively so materialistic body that we value. No, it is the integration. It's the system, the whole, the of the comprehension and experiences that we get from living in the world, and with which we also associate ourselves with. So right, and now thinking about that, we can view completely differently on what is the most essential for us, what is the most valuable for us. And to answer the question about the food and water, yes, you're right. If I don't eat, I die. Yes, you're right. If I don't drink, I die. But if I will be isolated, do I die? This is also a good question. If I will not be, what? Uh, nurtured in a social way, not in a uh, matter of food and drink, will I die? If you will provide me with food, you will feed me, but you will not touch the baby, you will not interact with the baby socially, will he die? Will his development be yes, kind of hindered? And the answer is yes. And it can be even more terrifying than the food, than the lack of the food, and the uh, uh, water, because you don't merely have to survive, you have to keep on living. And it's not only your body that has to live, but your will, your consciousness that wills to live. And if you don't have the will to live, you kill yourself because you're not merely your body. Okay, and um, that what is on the top. And I do believe that um, Christian what parable no what is it commandments Christian commandments two Christian commandments have really um, reflected well the proper hierarchy of value when I don't remember, was it Jesus who's I think it was Jesus who said that um, who literally marked the most important of all commandments, marking the base and the fundament of our value, of the things we truly value, that are the most valuable to us. And he said, first love your God with all your mind, with all your heart, your soul, and understanding, and then love others as yourself. So, God is literally the best of best. This is a maximum of maximums. God is an ideal and an absolute to which we strive to. Right, and without this, the point to strive to, there is no meaning in living, because as we live and we strive, but as we strive, we have to orient ourselves towards something, and because the action oriented towards the end goal, and so we need God to orient ourselves what orient ourselves something to. And God is the greatest of greatest, an absolute and ideal, even which we don't um, know, because it's not limited, it's maximized, it's expanding, and uh, so we would not be limited as we move closer to it, but the more expanding and expanding horizons of opportunities would be before us, to which we get to strive to. Right, and so for this reason, the very meaning of life, the purpose, the strive, the orientation towards the end goal, we need God, but then we need the uh, what? The second, the most valuable thing is people as ourself. People as ourself. Our consciousness can be integrated and shared through the mutual experience. And um, this is the second most essential things, because as we um, as we expand our perception through sharing our self, our consciousness, we enhance our being, we enhance our life. um, we can share our troubles with others and now feel better. This is interesting, don't you think so? We can share our troubles with others and feel better. We can distribute our very being. We can share our resources. We can accumulate them together, and we can be more wealthy together than we can be by being separate. And it turns out that for some things, being separate would actually cause you death, and not just financial troubles. But of course, this too is related, ironically. Uh, and so Christian commandments, uh, well, said by the most known teacher, and being said by God Himself, right? Um, the God orientation, the absolute, the greatest of greatest, first of all, and then ourselves and other people, us the same as others, an integrated and shared consciousness. Um, and that's what we value the most. We want to be known and we want to be understood. What do we want even more than that? We want move and live towards something because, right, not be lost, but move with purpose and meaning means to move towards the goal. Um, right. Mm, because, even enhancing and growing, you have to enhance meaningfully, and uh, purposefully. But purposely and meaningfully would be with an end goal. And the proper end goal is the maximum greatness, maximum high, what? The highest of highest. This is an ideal, and this is God. So um, that's about the uh, hierarchy of values and what we find the most valuable and essential for ourselves. And another video I will make would be a discussion of an improper assignment of the value, like what would be what and what would happen if um, we uh, would make poor choices, uh, and uh, what put to the higher value as secondary things. So this would be all for this video.